What's going on, everyone? Homework assignment 62. So we spent a few days talking about simple interest, and now we're going to move on to a newer topic called compound interest. All right, and here's a vocabulary. A compound interest is paid on the initial principal and on the interest earned in the past. All right, not so sure about what that means necessarily, but we'll see what it means as we work. So I put out a few steps for us that we could follow when we are finding our compound interest, and we'll talk about them as we work. So step one is we're going to end up finding the interest after 1 year. So we'll start by just using our time as 1 year. Step two, we're going to add the interest to our principal. Step three, we're going to find the interest for another year using the new principal. Okay, using the new principal. And the new principal is the original principal plus however much interest was added on. And then we're going to repeat as many times as necessary. So however many years they're telling us to go for is how many years we will go for. Best way for me to explain this is for us to take a walk through an example. So let's take a look. What is the total amount of money in an account where $600 is invested at an interest rate of 8.75% compounded annually for 2 years? All right, well, we're going to use the simple interest formula to help us out here. And just a reminder, our simple interest formula is I is equal to our principal. So interest is equal to principal times the rate times our time. Okay, so let's jot down some information here. I think that it's good to stay organized. So let's do it. So our interest, we don't know to start. Our principal is $600. Our rate is 8.755%, or we know it as 0.0875. And our time is 2 years. Okay, so here's how this is going to differ from just basic simple interest. If we were asked to just find the simple interest, so instead if we told that it wasn't compounded, right? If we weren't told that it was compounded, then what we would do is we would just solve everything and we would find the interest. But instead, we want to know how much is in the account now. How much is in the account if we compounded for 2 years? All right, so here's what we're going to do. Because they use that word, all right, because they used that word, they said compounded annually. Then here's what we need to do. I'm still going to look for all these values. So I'm going to look for what I is. Our principal times our rate times our time. And first, we're going to find it just for the first year. Okay, they're saying 2 years, but we're going to find it just for the first year, okay? So let's do this. So our interest is going to be equal to 600. Let me break out my calculator. 600 times 0.0875, which is 52.5. Okay, so that's our interest. All right. So we're taking a look at our steps. Let's see what we've done. We found the interest after 1 year. Next, we're going to add the interest to the principal. Okay, so let's add the interest to the principal to give us a new principal value. So 52.5 plus 600 is equal to 652.5. Okay, so we have our new principal. Now let's see what we're going to do with the new principal. Next, we're going to find the interest for another year using the new principal. So the reason we're finding it for another year is because we said it's compounded annually for 2 years. So we're going to do the same thing we did above. Instead, we're going to use this new principal for P. Instead of 600, now it's going to be 652.5 for 1 more year. So let's do it. Change up my color. I'll just keep it as green. So I'm still going to look for my new interest. Is now equal to 652.5 times our rate, which is 0.0875, times 1. So 652 0.5 times 0.0875. So our interest is equal to 57.09375. And what were they asking us? We want to know what is the total amount of money in the account, meaning the interest plus however much the principal is. So that would be 652.5 plus 57.09375, and we'll round to the nearest cent. Plus 652.5, which is going to be equal to 709.59. So $709.59. So that's compounded after 2 years. Okay, so after 2 years. So that's what we did. Okay, and the step said to repeat as many times as necessary. Well, we only did this whole process twice. So we only found the interest twice because it said 2 years. Now, if it says 3 years, guess how many times you're going to do it? That's right, 3 times. Great example of that is this next one. So let's take a look. So same processes we're going to use. All right. What is the total amount of money in an account where $5,000 is invested at an interest rate of 5% compounded annually after 3 years? So we want to know the total amount of money. All right, so let's do it. I'm going to start off just by identifying everything. I is equal to P is equal to R is equal to T. All right, our I, we don't know yet. We're going to find that. Our principal is 5,000. Our rate is 5% or 0.05. And our time is 3 years. So remember, we're going to go 1 year at a time with this. So in the first year, we have our interest is equal to 5,000 times our rate times our time, which is just going to be 1 year for now. So let's do it. 5,000 times 0.05. So I is equal to 250. Now remember, I'm now going to take this interest and add it to that principal. Okay, so 250 plus 5,000 is equal to 5,250. Okay, I have my new principal. Oh gosh, I can't draw a zero. I have my new principal. Now I'm going to go ahead and find for the second year. So let's do it. So I is equal to 5,250 times 0.05 times 1. All right, 5,250 times 0.05. So my new interest is 262.5. And it says 3 years. I've only done it twice so far. So I need to do it 1 more year. So let's find out what the new overall amount of money in the account is. So 262.5 plus 5,250 plus 5,250 is 5,512.5. So $5,512.50. So we're going to do it 1 more time with this new principal amount. So I is equal to 5,512.5 times 0.05 times 1. So what do we end up with? We end up with I is equal to 275.625. And remember, we want to know what the overall amount is going to be in that account. So I take the interest, 75.625. I add it to whatever my last principal was, 5,512.5. And I get, and I'll round to the nearest cent, The amount of money in the account after 3 years compounded annually is 5,788 and 13 cents. Is this difficult math? No. Is it tedious and annoying? For sure. All right, we teach you this now because in the future, once we get to algebra, we're going to learn how to find compound interest in different ways, okay? We teach you the tedious way so that you can understand how it works. But here's how it is, all right? Questions as always, jot them down, bring them to class, bring them to office hours, check out those practice problems. I'll see y'all tomorrow.